In the mid-1960s, a sound just appeared. It felt like someone had bottled up the California sun itself. Golden harmonies, laid-back vibes. It was the sound of the mamas and the papas. But the story behind that perfect sunny sound, well, it was anything but.
You know those words. The second you hear them, you can almost feel a cold wind blow. It's the opening to California Dreaming, and it perfectly sums up the band's whole vibe. This incredible mix of sadness and hope, all wrapped up in one.
And there it is, the big contradiction. The lyrics are talking about gray skies, but the music? It's like pure radiant warmth hitting your face. They pretty much created a whole genre we now call sunshine pop. So that's the real mystery, isn't it? How did a band that was a total mess behind the scenes make music that was just so perfect? That's what we're going to get into. It's a story of absolute genius, a whole lot of jealousy, and some pretty amazing accidental magic. So about that unique sound, you'd think a band that practically invented the California sound would have started in, California. But nope. Their story actually kicks off way over on the East Coast, in the folk scenes of Greenwich Village in Canada, where 4 very different paths were about to collide. And look, these weren't just some kids in a garage. They were all seasoned pros before they even got together. John Phillips was already this brilliant arranger. Denny Doherty had a tenor voice that was just pure gold. And Cass Elliot, she was a powerhouse, already making waves. It's like each of them was a crucial ingredient for a recipe that didn't even exist yet. To get things going, the first version of the group, John, his wife Michelle, and Denny, did what anyone would do. They ran away to the Virgin Islands. They were broke, living hand to mouth, but they spent endless hours singing, with John pushing them to nail these incredibly complex harmonies he was hearing in his head. Now here's the wild part. Cass Elliot wasn't even supposed to be in the band. John Phillips actually refused to let her join. Can you believe it? Because he didn't like her look? But Cass was a force of nature. She literally followed them to the islands and just elbowed her way in. She knew she was the missing piece, and thank goodness she did, because she was absolutely right. And this right here, this is their secret weapon. John's arrangements were so specific, layering the 4 voices just so that they created this kind of acoustic magic trick. It's an overtone, a sound that hovers above the music that sounds like a 5th person is singing with them. This 5th voice was their signature, and honestly, it was revolutionary. All right, so they've got this incredible, groundbreaking sound. They head to Los Angeles, and this is where the story just explodes. Fame hits them like a lightning bolt, and with it comes a whole new level of drama that would become both their greatest inspiration and their ultimate downfall. I mean, they didn't have to struggle for long. The legendary producer Lou Adler heard them sing once and knew history was being made. He compared it to the moment George Martin discovered the Beatles. He signed them right there on the spot, and pretty soon, California Dreaming was absolutely everywhere. Okay, but behind those gorgeous harmonies was this total mess. You've got John married to Michelle, but then Michelle starts having an affair with Denny. And to make it a full-on quadrangle, Cass was desperately in love with that same Denny, who wasn't interested. This wasn't just backstage drama. This chaos was the literal source code for their biggest hits. I mean, just take their only #1 song, Monday, Monday. It's this bright, shiny, Grammy-winning pop masterpiece. But it was written smack in the middle of all that heartache and betrayal. They got really, really good at hiding their pain inside these perfect, sunny songs. The whole thing just boiled over in the summer of '66. John got so fed up with Michelle's cheating that he fired his own wife from the band. For a couple of months, they had a replacement, Jill Gibson. But it just wasn't the same. The fans knew it, the band knew it. By August, Michelle was back, but you could see the cracks were getting way too big to fix. And if you want one story that sums up the entire band, this is it. While recording I Saw Her Again, a song literally about the affair, Denny messes up and comes in with his vocals a beat too early. The engineer starts to rewind the tape, but the producer, Lou Adler, stops in. He loved the mistake. He called it a happy accident. That one flawed, spontaneous moment made the song. Imperfect, but absolutely brilliant. That was them. So all of this is leading us to the Summer of Love, 1967. The Mamas and the Papas are one of the biggest bands in the world, and John Phillips is about to co-organize an event that will define the entire decade, the Monterey International Pop Festival. This really should have been their victory lap. And we have to understand, Monterey wasn't just another concert. John Phillips and Lou Adler imagined it as this huge cultural moment, a festival that would prove rock and roll was a real art form. And, it worked. It's where the world was introduced to Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin.
But here's the crushing irony. As an organizer, John Phillips knocked it out of the park. Monterey was a legendary success. But as a performer, his own band set was a total disaster. They were so busy running the festival, they barely even rehearsed. They were rushed, they sounded awful, and the magic just wasn't there.
And this was in front of everybody. For the first time, all that chaos bubbling under the surface was right out there on stage for the whole world to see. The beautiful illusion they had built was just shattered. Monterey wasn't just a bad gig. It was the moment the music died. It was the beginning of the end.
So after that public flameout at Monterey, the band pretty much fell apart. But what's so fascinating is that even though they were only together for a few chaotic years, the music they made has left this incredibly powerful and lasting legacy.
The breakup itself was quick. They made it official in 1968. They did get dragged back together for one last album in '71 to finish a contract, but you can hear that their hearts just weren't in it. After that, they all went their separate ways, with pretty mixed results.
But the echoes of that band, man, they are everywhere. Their vocal style became the blueprint for bands from the Eagles all the way up to groups like Fleet Foxes today. They were the center of that whole Laurel Canyon scene. And get this, it was at Mama Cass's house that David Crosby, Stephen Stills, and Graham Nash first sang together and discovered their own legendary harmony.
And that's really why we're still talking about them. Their music wasn't just a soundtrack for the 60s. In a way, it was the 60s. It had all that bright-eyed optimism, but it also had the darkness and the heartbreak that was hiding right underneath. It's a tension that, honestly, still feels so real and so modern. So that brings us back to the big question. Could they have ever created that perfect, flawless vocal sound without all the imperfect, chaotic relationships that were fueling the songs? Was the drama that ultimately destroyed them the very same thing that made them so brilliant? It's the ultimate paradox of the Mamas and the Papas, and it's what makes their music timeless.